We are 200 women, and we're traveling together, and we have roommates, and we're getting on buses together, and we're women, and what we're going to try to do this week is raise the bar. What does that mean? It means that we are going to, as you learn, as you get out of your life and you let things settle and you start thinking about your life and you start centering yourself, and as you're taking in this wisdom, hopefully you'll realize that Torah is not dusty Bible stories, men in robes walking through sand dunes. I grew up in Toronto. I did not grow up religious. And that's, for me, bar mitzvahs were more bar than mitzvah, okay? And our bar and bat mitzvahs became our graduations out of Judaism instead of what it's supposed to be, which is our graduations in. So it was a revelation to me as a young adult in my early 20s, when I came to Israel and I had this whole experience, it's a long story, that I started to see that, oh my gosh, this is not dusty Bible stories. This is wisdom for life. The word Torah means instructions, teachings. It's referred to as Torat Chaim, instructions for life. It's about life. It really is. There's wisdom in the Torah, how to choose the right person to marry, how to have a great marriage, how to raise great kids. It's all in there. If you don't become a better person when you're learning Torah, you're not learning from the right person or you're not learning the right Torah, that's for sure. So we're going to try to all be better people this week. Wouldn't that be nice? Right? And it's going to be easier to try to be a better person because there's nobody to do carpool with, and there's no rush hour, and there's no teenager who's walking away as you're speaking to the back of their heads, all right? All right? And there's no husbands, and there's no mother-in-laws, all right? Though I heard some people are here with their sister-in-laws, all right? So it's going to be easier to be a better person, and we're going to be pouring wisdom into you. But there's certain things that are going to help you, hopefully. And one is that we're going to watch what we say. There are 613 commandments in the Torah, and there are basically only 3 that a person has to give their life for rather than transgress. What are those 3? One is murder. If somebody says, a crazy person comes up to you with a gun on Yom Kippur and says, eat this bacon sandwich or I'll kill you, what should you do? Eat the bacon sandwich. So you don't have to give your life for fasting on Yom Kippur, and you don't have to give your life for keeping kosher. So what do you have to give your life for? So one is murder. Okay, somebody says, I'm going to kill this person or I'm going to kill you. You have to die rather than do it. One is sexual immorality. If somebody says, do this sexually immoral act or I will kill you, you have to die rather than do it. The third one is idolatry. If somebody says, bow down to this idol or convert to an idolatrous religion, you have to die rather than do it. Why those 3? It's a whole different talk unto itself. But there's one commandment that equals all 3 combined. You don't have to give your life for it, but we're taught that the heaviness of it equals all 3 combined. Worse. And that commandment is lashon hara, gossip, slander, rumor, evil speech. The Torah teaches us that every time we speak badly about somebody, it's triple murder. 3 people die. Every time we speak badly, 3 people die. Who dies? Who are the 3 people? The speaker, the person you're talking about, and the listener. So let's go through this triangle and see how to understand this, all right? Let's do the easy one first. The person you're speaking about. In whose eyes are they being killed? The person you're talking to, everybody listening. I grew up in Toronto. I remember many years ago, my husband and I started the Village Shul in Toronto. And I remember once I was walking into shul and somebody came up to me, and before I could stop them, they blurted out something terrible about somebody we both knew. It has been 17 years since this happened. And every time I think about the person they spoke about, every time I see the person they spoke about, every time I even think about the person they spoke about, what's the first thing that comes to my head? What they said. I can't get it out of my head. You know those courtroom dramas, and they put the witness on the stand, and the witness blurts something out, and the prosecuting attorney stands up and says, I object, and the judge says, sustained, and he turns to the jury. What does he say to the jury? The jury will disregard what the witness just said. Right. And the witness is smiling smugly, and the lawyer on his side is smiling smugly. Right. Disregard. Stricken from the record. Ladies, once we say it, it's there. Just try and take it back. So the person you're speaking about is being killed in the eyes of everybody listening. Who else is being killed? The speaker. In whose eyes are they being killed? The listener. But is that really true? Imagine we're standing around and we're talking about the details of somebody's dirty divorce that's going on, that we all know. And we're talking about it. And I say to you, guess what I heard? What do you say? What? What do you mean I'm being killed in your eyes? I am the queen of this social moment. All eyes and ears are on me. But I am being killed. At the moment, I am the queen of this social moment. But if you're known as the person who always has the dirt and the lowdown on everyone, and they don't call dirt and lowdown for nothing, are you the type of person that people are going to come to and confide in, ask advice of, look up to? Do you ever go to a funeral and the rabbi says of the departed, and she never had a bad word to say about anybody in her life? That's a life. Are they going to be able to say that about us? So even though at the moment you're the queen of the social moment and all eyes and ears are on you, you're committing slow social suicide. The third person being killed, and the Torah teaches us that the person who's killed most of all, the person who is the most guilty and the most culpable, is the listener. Worse than speaking Lashon Hara is listening. But that doesn't seem so fair. Why is the listener the most guilty? Because the listener of all these three people, right, the person you're speaking about, the person speaking, and the listener, the person who has the most power to stop this in its tracks is the listener. If no one would listen to Lashon Hara, if no one would listen to gossip, no one would say it. They need somebody to listen. So if listening is worse than speaking, then what are our options? Because you are an accessory to the crime. If somebody goes into like a bank, to rob a bank, they're not robbing the bank and getting on the bus. There's somebody in the getaway car. They're an accessory to the crime. If they're caught, even if they didn't go into the bank, even if they never lifted up a gun, they go to jail too, because the crime would not happen without them. That's the listener. So what's our options? If listening to Lashon Hara is worse than speaking, then what do we do if we're in a situation and people start going, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta? What do? One is walk away. You walk into a situation and they're going, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Keep walking. What's another option? Pardon? Tell them, I don't want to hear this. Don't say this to your mother-in-law. It's not going to lead to good things, okay? But there are people, hopefully, that you are going to be able to say that to. I have to tell you, in my social circles, people are very careful with this. Everybody messes up, but people are really careful with this. My friend Ruth is here. I want to introduce you also to Ruth Bars. Wave, Ruth. She's the head of the DC. She's the head of the DC group here, but she's my very good friend, and she is the program and leadership development, the head of the JWRP. And so Ruth and I, we carpool together. We're friends. Our kids are friends. If I said to Ruth, I heard some really great gossip about what's going on at the school that, she would go home and tell her husband, our children can't marry their children. I'm not joking, okay? In my social circles, if you're known as a person who gossips, you're a social pariah. In some social circles, if you don't gossip, you're a social pariah. Oh, who does she think she is? Okay? Who you hang out with is who you become. This is not just for our kids. It's who we hang out with. There are some people, again, there's some people that if you don't gossip, you're on the out. All right, so what's our option? So we walk away. What else can we do? You could say, and hopefully, you know what? We shouldn't be talking about this. There's somebody who came to one of my classes once, and it was on this, and she came back a week later, and she says, Lori, this week I was at a funeral. And somebody in front of sitting in front of her, turned around and started speaking. She said he started speaking badly about somebody we both knew at a funeral. She said to him, I don't want to talk about this. He just kept going. She said, Please stop. I don't want to listen to this. She said he just kept going. It's unbelievable. So what else can you do to stop them? Yes? Change the subject. Hey, how about those mariners, those leafs, change the subject. If there are some people in our lives who have a harder time with this than others. There are some people who are very challenged in this area. And if you know you're going to be at a family simcha, and as soon as you see Aunt Sadie, you know in 5 minutes she's going to be putting down Aunt Judy because they've been warring for decades, then be prepared. I'm already prepared with a story to change the subject even before I see them because I know it's going to happen. It's usually a cute story about one of my kids, all right? So I go, Aunt Sadie, Mazel Tov, it's so good to see you. Did you see Aunt Judy? Is she so dressed inappropriately again? Aunt Judy, did I tell you what my moshi did this week? It's so cute. Start showing family photos. They walk away soon enough, okay? Change the subject. But sometimes you change the subject and they keep bringing it back around. So what's another option? What else can you do? You could definitely walk away, but sometimes you're on the freeway, okay? Right? And this and you're trying to change the subject. Did you ever zone out? Did you ever tune out and you just didn't hear the last, hopefully not now, okay, the last few sentences of what somebody said? So this is a good time to tune out. Start thinking about making shopping lists in your head or whatever. Do you understand? So this is a good time to tune out. Bottom line, you can't believe what they say. And you know why you can't believe it? Even if it sounds very plausible, okay? Because there really are 3 sides to everything. His side, her side, and the truth. There really is another side. And just like we would like people to judge us to the side of good, we should judge people to the side of good. All right. So those are options, and you should be prepared. But hopefully, if you're hanging around with people who are living hopefully on a higher plane, and hopefully people are being careful with this, it won't be as hard. Let's define gossip. Let's define Lashon Hara, because there are times we're supposed to speak about people even if it reflects negatively. Gossip is any form of communication that reflects negatively on someone unless there's a positive, constructive purpose. I'll repeat. Gossip is any form of communication that reflects negatively on someone unless there's a positive, constructive purpose. So let's break this down. Any form of communication. Ladies, we can transgress this without saying a word. Not 2 women standing at a social function. Another woman walks by dressed differently. The first woman turns to her friend and rolls her eyes. The second woman nods. Beep, beep, beep. Lashon Hara alert. Not a word was spoken. All right? Just the roll of an eye or the raise of an eyebrow. That's all it takes. I wrote a book. My third book is called Gossip. Right? It's about the laws of ethical speech. So when my son Zev read the transcript, the manuscript, he said, Ima, worse than listening to Lashon Hara is reading Lashon Hara. And he was right. Why is reading worse than listening? Yes? You take more, okay, there's more senses involved, right? You're also seeing it, yes? It's more permanent, okay, it's written down. Very intentional. Nobody is putting a gun to your head saying, scroll down on that screen. Right? Buy that magazine. Turn those pages. Sometimes you're in a situation where you're in a car and somebody's going, da, 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 da. You're trying to choose the subject, and they're going, da, 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 da. Okay, it's not intentional. Reading, where's your excuse? But some people say to me, wait, what's wrong about reading about these entertainment people, these stars, okay? Like, what's wrong with reading about them? Like, they have publicists who they pay them to get them into these magazines. That's all about gossip. Well, it's a slippery slope from reading about Brad Pitt's marriage and talking about it to talking about your neighbor's marriage. And I have to break the news to you, ladies. I'm sorry to break the news to you. Brad Pitt never thinks about you. Not even for a moment. And for some reason, we are so fascinated by some of these stars, it's like a little bit sick. Do you understand? These people who are paid to pretend to be sensitive, loving people, but really are not, okay? These are the people we're fascinated with. So again, we're going to try to work on a different plane. Now, you notice I'm picking on women. It's not just because, even if there were women and men in this audience, I would also be picking on women. Because who gossips more, men or women? For sure, women. Men do gossip. They do gossip. They don't call it gossip. They call it networking. Right, guys? Okay? Shooting the breeze, okay? Hanging out with the guys. They definitely gossip. They don't call it that. And they don't gossip as much. Why don't they gossip as much? Why do women gossip more? Because we talk more. According to the studies, we use many, 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 many more words in a day than a man. And we're going to include all the grunts, okay? We'll include everything, okay? The Talmud says when speech came into the world, it says 10 portions of speech came into the world when God created the world, and women took 9. That's what it says. And the rest of the world, bow, wow, wow, meow, 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 moo, 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 and men divided up the last 10th, okay? This is not a put down to women. They're telling us that in general, women are communicators. You know the joke, like, why is it good that we have female astronauts? Because if they get lost, somebody will stop and ask for directions, okay? So women are communicators, and it's a gift, but we have to be careful. We can use it, or we can abuse it. And Lashon Hara gossip is like, it says it's like a fired gun. Once you pull that trigger, somebody's going to get killed. And just try and take it back. Here's the excuses that people use to speak Lashon Hara. There's excuses people use, all right? Here's the number one excuse, rationalization. And the co-author of my book on gossip, he says, his name is Bob Berg. He's like this Zig Ziglar motivational speaker. He's from Florida. He said, rationalize are rational lies, okay? So here's the rationalizations for speaking Lashon Hara. Number one, it's true, but it's true. You know, if it's not true, it's not Lashon Hara. You're also transgressing ethical speech, but if you really want to do Lashon Hara to its purest degree, make sure it's true. Everybody knows about it. Even if it's on the front page of the paper, it doesn't give us license to talk about it. If she were here, I would say it to her face. Maybe you would, and maybe you wouldn't. One way to test yourself, to ask yourself, am I allowed to say this or not? Because this is any form of communication that reflects negatively on someone unless there's a positive, constructive purpose. There's a big difference between my coming home and saying to my husband, do you hear the so-and-sos at shul are having trouble with their marriage, and he's doing this to her, and she's doing this to him, and ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Or I come home and say, honey, the so-and-sos at shul are having trouble in their marriage. I think if you talk to him, you can make a difference. Do you hear the difference? One is Lashon Hara for my own entertainment. The second one is I'm trying to help someone. If you're trying to help someone, it's not Lashon Hara. But there are 3 important parameters. Number 1, you go to the one and only person who you think can help and make a difference, and you only say it to them. This does not give you license. You're trying to help somebody. This does not give you license to do a Gallup poll amongst your friends to help Sarah in her marriage. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? No. You go to the one and only person. Number 2, you say only what's necessary. You don't have to tell every dirty detail. And number 3, you have to know the difference between fact and opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. True story. Years ago, I was living in Toronto, and my husband comes home, and he says, this executive in downtown Toronto, this groovy playboy kind of guy, was learning with him, and whatever, he's living with a non-Jewish nurse, they break up, he finally says, that's it, I want to get married. He says, Rabbi, I want to get married, I want to marry a nice Jewish girl, find me a Jewish girl. My husband comes home, and I don't know, I've had the privilege of setting people up and they got married. Ever happen to you? Did you ever introduce 2 people and they got married? Are they still married? Oh, that's good, that's good. I have a friend who loves setting people up, honestly. She loves it. And almost every person she's ever introduced, either they get engaged and it breaks off, or they get married and get divorced. I finally said to my friend, stop before you kill again. Okay, this is not your mitzvah, okay? Okay. But whatever, like I have a thing, like sometimes like, thank God to introduce people and they get married. So he tells me, this guy, he wants to meet a nice Jewish girl, set him up. All right, so I set him up with a great Jewish girl, a really nice girl. She calls me up after the date. I said, how'd it go? She goes, Lori, he was the date from hell. I go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, what happened? She starts telling me. I go tell my husband, I go, they went out. He goes, how'd it go? I go, I don't think it went very well. She said he's the date from hell. He goes, nonsense, he's a great guy. Set him up with somebody else. So he's my husband. So I said, fine. So I set him up with another girl, another great girl. I'm telling you, this is true. She calls me up after the date, first date. I go, how'd it go? She goes, Lori, he was the date from hell. I start telling my husband, he starts telling me to set him up again. I go, Yaakov, forget it. There's something wrong with this guy. Two great girls use the same unusual expression, okay, about this guy. There's something wrong with this guy. I'm not setting him up. 6 months later, the guy gets engaged to a girl that we knew, a great girl. They are happily married to this very day. And I thank God every day that girl did not call me up and ask me, what do you think about this guy? I would say, be very careful. Everybody says he's the date from hell. Because ladies, somebody's date from hell is somebody else's Prince Charming. You can stop things before they start and destroy things once they've started by giving your opinion. One great test to ask yourself, should I say this? Should I do this? Everybody, okay, something's dying in the air conditioning. Like scary noise. That was the first. All right. One way to ask yourself, everybody wants to make good decisions, right? Everybody wants to do the right thing. Nobody gets up and says, I'm going to do the wrong thing today, okay? Everybody wants to do the right thing. You want to do the right thing. Your kids want to do the right thing. How do you know what the right thing to do is? So this is a great tool. This is from our Rabbi Noah Weinberg, a blessed memory, and you're going to see a film about him later on in the week. He was tremendous. He was the founder of Aish Torah. The JWRP partners with many organizations around the world, including Aish Torah. So our rabbi gave us this tool, and it's a game changer. I want you to learn it. I want you to pass it to your kids. If you're in a situation you want to know what is the right thing to do, first, have in your mind right now somebody you tremendously respect. Think about somebody right now you tremendously respect. Could be they're already in this world, they're still in this world. It could be they've already passed on. Father, a grandfather, a teacher, a grandmother. You got somebody in your mind? Yes? Okay. When you're in a situation, you have to make a choice, and life is choice. You made 1,000 choices today. Should I get up? Should I sleep in? Should I wear this, eat this, be with this person, say this? If you're about to make a choice, you're wondering, is this the right thing to do? Beam down that person beside you, that person in your life you tremendously respect, and ask yourself, if that person was standing right here, would I say this, wear this, be with this person, purchase this? And if the answer is no, you'd be ashamed to do it in front of them, then all the more so we should be ashamed to do it in front of God. The Almighty brings us very special people in our lives so to get an inkling of what it means and to help us to do the right thing. I beam down my husband. If my husband was standing here, would I say this, wear this, be with this, buy this, all right? And if the answer is no, I'd be ashamed to do it in front of my husband, then I shouldn't do it. All right. To help us to live on this plane and to do the right thing, part sort of tangential to ethical speech is to have what's called an ayin tov, a good eye. Instead of looking at people and judging them negatively about what they say, what they wear, what they do, we're going to have an ayin tov. We're going to judge people to the good. We're going to see things in a good light. To help you with this, we're going to show you a film. This is a film, I don't know if anybody ever's been on Aish.com. This is a film that I did, a special film for them. It's called Where's the Salt? If you want to show it to your family or friends, you just go to Aish.com and put Where's the Salt? And we're going to show you that film now. Do I have a Madrich who's going to help me? Yeah? Here we go. It was a beautiful day, a clear blue sky, a light breeze. We decided to go out for a family picnic in the local park. We invited some friends, packed yummy food, brought blankets, tablecloths, balls, bats, mitts, frisbees. Everyone arrived on time, and as the kids played, we unpacked and set up the picnic. There were sandwiches and salads and hard-boiled eggs, and then I heard it. Where's the salt? Someone forgot to pack the salt. How can we eat eggs with no salt? For the complainer, who shall remain nameless, that beautiful day was ruined. You're thinking, that's ridiculous to focus in on such a small thing when everything else is so great. But you know what? We do the same thing. Although God showers us every day with blessings, we complain and blame. It's raining. The traffic is terrible. The kids didn't clean their room properly. Your mother-in-law was critical again. We can't believe someone forgot the salt. Hey, we're alive. We have a roof over our heads, clean water, food, family, friends. Most of us live a life of incredible abundance, safety, and freedom. So what is there to complain about? Who is there to blame? Why do we do it? Because we feel that life owes us something. We are entitled, deserving, and we expect things to go the way we want it to go. We're setting ourselves up for a life of blaming and complaining, which is not a happy life. The antidote? Realize that God runs the world, and He makes sure that everything happens exactly how it's supposed to happen. All of the abundance, all of the lacking, all of the joy, all of the pain. It's all from the Almighty. And guess what? He doesn't make mistakes. This may not be a situation we asked for, but God's decided it's the situation we need. It's raining. Without rain, we wouldn't have food. In a traffic jam, the Almighty wants you to stop and think. Kids didn't clean their room perfectly. Focus on the fact that they tried. Critical mother-in-law? If it wasn't for your mother-in-law, you wouldn't have your spouse or your children. So the next time something is not exactly going as you expected, stop and say to yourself 4 simple words. Don't blame, don't complain. How do I work on it? With this simple band. It has a saying on it from Ethics of Our Fathers. Who is happy? The one who takes pleasure in his portion. The goal is to go 3 straight weeks not complaining. And if you complain, you have to take it off one wrist and put it on the other and start again. This band helps me to realize just how often I do blame and complain, and it gets me to change my focus. Try it. It will increase your happiness at work, at home, even when you're stuck in traffic. And you'll see that life is filled with abundant pleasure, even if there is no salt.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I wear this band, and again, as the film says, if I blame or complain, I have to switch it to the other side and start again. So what we're going to do is we're going to give everybody here a band, and you're going to, we're not going to ask you for 3 weeks, but we are going to ask you to do as much as possible to try to go the whole trip without blaming or complaining. Now, and it's not easy. The first time I put it on, I couldn't go an hour. Like some of you are not going to make it to the bus, I'm telling you, okay? I promise you. And that means whether it's about the weather or it's about the timing or it's about anything, okay? Anything, blaming or complaining, you got to switch it. And whoever goes the longest, if you could go the whole trip, whoever goes the whole trip without ever switching their band, and there's always just a handful of people, like maybe 1, 2, or 3, who can go the whole trip. There is a prize for you at the end, all right? There really is a prize. If you switch your band, don't just give it up, okay? Just get back on track, okay? So you have to start again. And the idea is you want to go ideally 3 weeks. Now, every Shabbat, every Shabbos, I never switch my band. I never switch it. And as soon as Shabbos is over, it's unbelievable, and I start cleaning up, I'm like, oh, who put that there? Like, ugh. I can't believe I have to switch my band. So I told my son Zev, I go, Zev, I don't understand it. I can go the whole Shabbos, and as soon as Shabbos is over, I switch my band. He goes, Ima, that's because on Shabbos, you know that God runs the world. And as soon as it's over, you think you run it again, okay? It's true, it's true. One woman on the trip, she told me, she goes, Lori, I promise you, I went to sleep last night, it was on one wrist, I woke up, it was on the other. You'll see it's a game changer. It makes you so sensitive and makes you realize how often we do it. But I asked a Rabbi, Shalom Schwartz, who originally gave me this idea, I said to him, well, what's the difference between blaming and complaining or there's a mitzvah to give tochacha, to rebuke. That if somebody's making a mistake, it's actually a mitzvah responsibility to point out their mistake. But there's parameters on how you do it and when you do it and how you do it. Like there's a whole thing about it. But if somebody's making a mistake, if you care about them, you'll point out their mistake. So I said, so what's the difference?
He said, Lori, when you're really doing tochacha properly, like giving rebuke, you both walk away feeling good. Like if you did it in the right way, the person actually says, thank you. Thank you for telling me that, for pointing that out. If you did it in the right way. He says, when you're blaming and complaining, nobody walks away feeling good. All right? All right, so we're going to ask the city leaders or the Matrichot to come and to get some bands. We're going to give you the bands here to hand out to your women. Just get a handful here. And at the end, you can buy some and bring them home, when you're going to want to, because it really helps. I'm telling you. I'll be at the light, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe this light is so long. And my kids are like, switch your band, because it's true. Like, what am I complaining about the stupid light? Yeah. It doesn't matter what wrist you start on. Just put it on any wrist. So inside, ladies, shh, it should have the, it says Pirkei Avot 4:1, chapter 4, verse 1, and it says in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, it asks, who is happy? The one who takes pleasure in his portion, the one who takes pleasure in what he has. All right. Shh. Okay, now I'm going to take questions about the class. If you have any questions about what I spoke about, or any clarifications about when you're allowed to speak about people and when you're not. Any questions? Shh, yes. Shh. Yes. You're not allowed to embarrass somebody, right? It said the Torah says that embarrassing somebody is like killing them, because when you're embarrassed, if somebody embarrasses you, you want to die, right? It's like killing them. So if somebody's about to speak Lashon Hara and you admonish them in front of other people, that's not a good thing. It's not Lashon Hara. You're shaming them. So you're supposed to, in the laws of Tochacha, rebuke. Ideally, you take them aside. You try to switch the subject away. And later on, when you give rebuke, it's supposed to be a sandwich. First of all, you're supposed to not do it in front of other people. You should be specific. This is not licensed to talk about everything that they ever did to you. And you're supposed to make a sandwich. So that means you start off with something really good and true, you know, how great they are about certain something. Then you slip in the rebuke, and then you end with something good. Again, if you did it properly, they walk away and say thank you. Policemen are taught to do this. When the policeman gives you a ticket, at the end, what do you say? You say thank you. Why are you thanking him? Okay, because he did it in a smart way. Like he does it in a way that in the end, you say thank you. Other questions? Yes. Shh. Why did I start teaching about this? This is actually something that the publisher actually came to me, the people who do Chicken Soup for the Soul books. So they actually approached me to write this book, and they put me together with this other writer, Bob Berg, in Florida, and that's where it really came. But I started speaking about it because this, I'm telling you, in the Torah world, this is huge, all right? This is really huge. That you can imagine if everybody was living, like the amount of pain that's caused by people gossiping. Another excuse that people use for gossip is fun. Gossip is fun. It is fun, unless they're talking about you. Then it's not so much fun anymore. So you see that in life. And I'll tell you, and I'm a talky person. Like I'm the one who fills in all the gaps and if there's a space in the conversation. Like I'm a communicator, and I majored in communications in university, okay? So if you open your mouth a lot, you can hurt people. And then when you start learning these laws, you didn't even know there were laws about it. You're kind of making up laws as you go along. When you find out the laws, and people study this, there are people who study this every day, and there are great rabbis who have promised in past generations that if you learn the laws every day, that bracha, blessing, comes to your life, that the Almighty will protect you because you're being careful. Do you understand?
It says at the end of, you should live to 120. We should all live to 120. But it says there are certain things, this is part of my Soul in the Afterlife class, I'm just going to extract it. But it says there are things that can wipe out your eternity. All right, this world isn't all there is. In the scheme of your eternity, this world is a blink of an eye. What happens in this blink affects all of your eternity. So there are things that can wipe out your eternity. You can give tzedakah, and you can do all these nice things and do many mitzvahs, but there are things that can wipe everything out. And one of them, it's a scary list, one of them it says a Baal Lashon Hara, a master of gossip. Not just somebody who slips up once in a while, but a person like, they're the gossip. It says that person has no olam haba, gets no share in the world to come. Why? Because the world works mida keneged mida, measure for measure. You spent your whole life separating people from one another, and now God separates you for eternity. Do you hear? Any other questions? Yes?
So let's say you have a difficult situation with a friend and you'd like to get guidance, support, advice.
Right.
Do you go to someone and do it anonymously, and sometimes you can't really do that because you're going to figure it out?
Yes, very good question. The question is, if you're having trouble with a friend, do you go to somebody and how do you get advice about that situation? Can you do it anonymously? Ideally, if you could get the advice without telling that person who it is, I could just say to my husband, okay, there's somebody who, whatever, in my life, and this is the situation, what should I do? Is this the right thing or the wrong thing? Ideally, you could do it without, you can get a lot of good advice without them knowing. Sometimes my husband will say, in this situation, I need to know who it is in order to give you advice. All right? So there are times to say it, but again, you only say what's necessary. Yes?
There are two phrases that I've heard you say that I don't know, can sometimes sound contradictory. That you say, God decides everything, but life is full of choices.
Right. Okay, so you asked a very deep question when we're okay, but that's a very excellent question. All right, God runs the world, but we still have free will. That we could say we're not robots. Sometimes you wish your kids were robots, always doing the right thing. Okay, that's not life. God gave us free will. Free will is not chocolate ice cream, vanilla. I'll take chocolate. Okay, that's license. Free will is making a moral choice, right from wrong. We can choose. The fact that the Almighty, so we are bound by time. We live in the present, dwell in the past, and worry about the future. That's us. So the Almighty, God is not bound by time. He's God. So he sees past, present, and future in one glance. He sees where you came from. He sees where you are. And because he's not bound by time, he even sees where you're going. The fact that he knows where you're going or what you're going to choose does not take away your free will to make a choice. Because we have different futures based on our free will. You can go left or you can go right. It's two different lives. You marry that person or you marry that person. It's two different lives. The fact that the Almighty can choose, like if I put you in a time machine, now we're not bound by time. We can go past, future, right? And we go back, right? We're in Washington, D.C. We're at Ford's Theater. Abraham Lincoln is there. John Wilkes Booth is picking up a gun. The fact that you know that he's going to shoot Abraham Lincoln and assassinate him because we know the future does not take away the free will of John Wilkes Booth, whether I'm going to kill the president or not. Do you understand? If you have a kid and you know your kid's inside and out, okay? And you hear in the next room, one kid just hit another kid, right? And you walk in, right? So the fact that you know your kids, you know that one kid who's hit is just going to hit back. You know another kid who's hit is going to come running to you. The fact that you know them inside and out and you know what's going to happen does not take away that kid's free will to either hit or not hit. Do you understand? So God knows us inside and out. He's not bound by time. We have free will. The fact that he knows what we're going to choose does not take away that free will. Yes?
Okay, so Lori, in that case, does Hashem know? Like, okay, you used the example of the shooting. We know it's going to happen.
Right.
We want to stop it.
Right.
Does God know which free choice we're making?
Because he's not bound by time, he knows what we're going to choose. But we still have that free will. Because we can choose. And it's two different lives if we choose. He hasn't decided, you decide. Your decision creates a certain consequence, creates a certain life. And we can choose. You know there's a term mazel tov. You know the term mazel tov? So what does mazel tov mean? Okay, it doesn't mean good luck. Anybody here Israeli? Mazal? Right? It means constellations, stars, mazal. You're wishing somebody good stars, a good destiny. That means we're born with a certain destiny. We're born under certain stars. And we have a certain destiny. But we're also taught that the Jewish people are above Mazal. We're even, by our choices, we can even rise above our original destiny. And that's why there are several commandments in the Torah that forbid us from going to fortune tellers, tarot card people, crystal ball people. There are several commandments that forbid us, not just because most of them are going to cheat you, it's because there are people who can tap into the future and can see it. And if you go to them, you can be bound by what they say. That's why you're not allowed to go there. You could go to people to talk to you about who you are and even to help you with your past, but you can't go future, because you could be bound by it. So we can change our original destiny by our choices. Yes?
So if something is B'sheretz, then how was it B'sheretz if you had choice and then you made a different choice?
If something's meant to be, again, it's based on our choices. It's meant, because if you make, it says God will help you in the way you want to go. So if you want to go in a bad direction, he's not going to stop you. He's actually going to help you. The doors will open. And if you want to go in the right direction, he'll also throw open the doors. Do you understand? It's meant to be because of the choices that you made. Are you following me? Okay, so it was a very complex and heavy question at the end of the talk. It's a very, very important question. But I'm going to be around the whole week, and we're going to be talking, and you're going to meet other rabbis, and you can talk to them. But I hope it gave you something to think about, some sort of clarification. All right? So we have choices. So ladies, stop and make the right choice. I'm going to end with this story, and then we're going to head to the buses. So there's the story that's told of the man who goes to the Rebbe, and before Yom Kippur, and asks him for forgiveness because he spoke badly about him. Because you have to clear this up before Yom Kippur. About 1/3 of what we say on Yom Kippur, that we're sorry for this and sorry for that, about 1/3 has to do with speech. So he goes to the Rebbe, please forgive me, I spoke badly about you. The Rebbe didn't feel he was sincere. He goes, no, I don't forgive you. He goes, no, please, please forgive me. He still says no. Finally, the guy's begging. The Rebbe goes, okay, fine. I will forgive you under one condition. He goes, what? He says, take this feather pillow, rip it up, and throw it into the wind. Thought the Rebbe was crazy. He goes, okay, fine. If that's what it's going to take. Takes the feather pillow, rips it up, throws it into the wind. The Rebbe says, collect every feather. And when you collect every feather, then I'll forgive you. He goes, but Rebbe, that's impossible. And he said, exactly. Because ladies, when we speak badly about people, it's like feathers in the wind. Just try it and collect them. Okay, ladies, let's head to the buses. We're going to have a wonderful dinner together.